So Scotland is probably best known for haggis, men wearing skirts, castles, and of course, deep-fried Mars bars. And whilst it has mountains, just like Switzerland, and lakes, or rather lochs, as they call them in Scotland, it's not a country that's been particularly known for its watchmaking. However, AnOrdain and sister company PAULIN, who make this watch, are doing their best to change that. And they're clearly doing it with a smile on their face. I mean, the Scots definitely have a great sense of humour. After all, Edinburgh is known for its world-famous comedy festival. And I think this fun little watch has been designed to put a smile on your face too. But look past the dial here, and there are plenty of signs that they take their watchmaking pretty seriously. Before we get into it, if you're new here, my name's Simon, and I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to watches. Actually, I'm probably just a bit of a geek. But if you love watches too, then you're in the right place. So come and say hi in the comments, and let's chat about watches. So PAULIN is a sister company of AnOrdain, kind of what Tudor is to Rolex. AnOrdain was founded by Lewis Heath in 2015, and they've made a pretty big name for themselves, making gorgeous watches with traditionally crafted enamel dials. I mean, these things are absolutely stunning. I'm not surprised that they've got bigger waiting lists than Rolex. PAULIN Watches was founded by Charlotte PAULIN back in 2013, and it's still owned and operated by Charlotte and, from what I understand, a mostly female team. I think it'd be cool to see more women in watchmaking. I mean, when you look at their website, they do mention a guy, the engineer. I think he's called Ewan. Well, I mean, after all, he's Scottish, so he's got to be called either Ewan or Fraser. Anyway, Lewis from AnOrdain and Charlotte from PAULIN are also husband and wife, and they've also created a union of sorts between their two brands. But whereas AnOrdain's watches are beautiful and elegant and timeless, PAULIN's design DNA is fresh and fun, with modern, almost industrial-looking cases. And I'm here for them. This is their Modul A Manual. Modul is a play on model and modular, because you see the Modul series uses a modular case design, which is used to house different movement technologies, manual, automatic, and even quartz. This is one of their smaller cases at just 35mm, though it does wear more like a 37 or a 38, and it's really slim, at just over 8mm. So although it's a flat case design, the thickness, or lack of it, makes it really light and comfortable on the wrist. This Modul A Manual has, you guessed it, a manual wind movement. But more about that in a minute. The thing that grabs you first is that bright yellow dial, which when combined with this font and the geometric shapes used to indicate the hours, it's just designed to put a smile on your face. I was trying to think what this dial design reminds me of, and I think the best way to describe it is like something from a 1950s sci-fi comic. And instead of the logo being above the pinion in the traditional fashion, at the bottom edge of the dial you've got PAULIN and Glasgow, either side of the 6 o'clock position. I think it's also poking a little bit of fun at the Swiss, because you see, this is the place on the dial of a Swiss watch where you traditionally see the words Swiss made. And in fact, the whole vibe of this watch reminds me very much of what Studio Underd0g has done. Watches that break with convention, but deliver huge dollops of fun. But whereas Studio Underd0g's original chronograph, the one that's known as the watermelon, uses a cheap and cheerful Chinese seagull movement, well, that's where PAULIN takes things a bit more seriously, because all of its movements are Swiss. I recently turned 50. As I've got older, my health has become a bigger priority. I want to be here to see my kids grow up. I want to see them get married and have kids of their own. As someone who loves traditional watches, fitness bands and smartwatches just go against the grain. I want to wear the amazing watches in my collection, and I don't want to have to wear a watch on one wrist and a fitness band or a smartwatch on the other. And I just can't wear watches in bed. Then I found the Ultrahuman Ring Air, and this tiny ring has been a game changer. It's discreet and yet incredibly powerful. Combined with the incredible Ultrahuman app, It tells me what's going on inside my body, whether I'm meeting my fitness goals or if I'm getting the right kind of sleep. It also monitors my heart rate and HRV, heart rate variability, which is a measure of stress. But of course, it also tracks my activity and so much more. The Ultrahuman app also gives you nutrition advice, as well as free access to a whole library of health-related videos and podcasts. And unlike other similar products, it's subscription-free. It's easy to see why the Ultrahuman Ring Air is used by the world's #1 cycling team, as well as other elite athletes. I'll leave a link in the description to the Ultrahuman website, as well as a special discount code for Escapement24 subscribers. The manual line movement inside this is an ETA 7001. Based on a movement that was originally developed in the 1960s, in the decades that followed, the ETA 7001 was used by the likes of Omega, Oris, and even Girard-Perregaux. It isn't a high beat movement, but it's reliable, has reasonable accuracy, and it looks gorgeous with these Geneva stripes and blued screws. And it's not just the movement. Everything about this watch is made to a high-quality standard. I mean, sure, the cases are made in China, much like most of the Swiss brands do, but the dials are made in Germany and finished in Glasgow, and the leather for these straps comes from tanneries in Tuscany and England. Instead of the smoke and mirrors that most watch brands use when it comes to where their parts come from, PAULIN is completely transparent. I mean, there's even a page on the PAULIN website where they list all of their suppliers. I mean, that's brave. But this level of quality does come at a price, and this watch retails for £825, but that's before taxes. So if you're here in the UK, it's £990, including VAT. And that's the fly in the ointment for this watch. I mean, I think it's a totally fair price for what you're getting, when you know what's gone into it. But I'm not sure that many people do. I mean, we're all spending an increasing amount of time on social media, and brands get a tiny fragment of our attention before we scroll or swipe and we're on to the next thing. I know I certainly do, and I'm someone who's into watches. I wonder whether many people might see an image of this fun-looking watch and assume that it'll cost £400 or £500, because I think that's the kind of money that most people are willing to spend on something that's fun and irreverent. But at almost £1,000, well, that's a much more considered purchase, especially when something like the Studio Underdog is around half that price. So I think PAULIN has got a bit of an uphill battle trying to educate people as to why they should pay more for this. Personally, well, I love that this fun little watch has got some serious watchmaking behind it. But what do you guys think? Is this in your wheelhouse? And what do you think of the price? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button. And I'll see you on the next one.